I'm Billy S, welcome back to the channel. Today we're braving spooky swamps and dark caverns as we rank the World 5 Fungi Mines courses of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is the 5th episode in my Super Mario Wonder course ranking series. If you're interested in the rest of them, click the first link in the description to head to the playlist. Now, of all the worlds I've ranked so far, I actually think World 5 has the strongest set of overall courses. All of them feel unique and memorable for different reasons, which is more than I can say about all of the courses in prior worlds. Perhaps that's because there's a shorter amount of levels overall at just 12, but it does make my job a little easier. Now, as the wind blows outside, I don't know if that's getting picked up on the microphone, a reminder that I am a 2D Mario noob. The last 2D Mario I really enjoyed was the first game on the DS, but the creativity of Mario Wonder is bringing back me into the fold. So, as I said, I'm bringing a very casual perspective to these rankings. Without further ado, all 12 courses in World 5 Fungi Mines of Super Mario Bros. Wonder ranked. And let me know your favourite course down below. At number 12, we have Operation Poplin Rescue. I debated on whether to bother including this level, as really it's a glorified cutscene with a small playable section, but it has a course icon on the world map, so I'm including it. Here you rescue the 4 Poplin miners who are lost in the caverns, using the Wonder Flower to assume the brilliant Wubba form. I was expecting a cool Wubba-based level to traverse, followed by maybe a boss fight that incorporated the new form, but no, instead we go through 3 simple tunnels and that's the end of the level. A royal seed obtained and everything is done. I feel really let down by both World 3 and 5 not having a proper climax to their gameplay. These worlds needed a boss of some kind to make collecting the Royal Seed feel worthwhile. It baffles me that we have some of the most creative level design in 2D Mario history, and yet absolutely no creativity when it comes to the bosses. New Super Mario Bros. On the DS had unique bosses, and that was 17 years ago. The Fungi Mines go out with a whimper, not a bang. At number 11, we have the break time stage, Trottin' Piranha Plants. Another musical note stage, this time you're not collecting flower coins, you're slaying piranha plants. Only, I think this stage didn't get the memo that you should get coins for each piranha plant defeated. I only got coins for killing the first 3, the last 2 gave me nothing, and I can't help but feel shortchanged. I like that this time we had to beat enemies to make the tune for the Wonder Seed, but that's about it. I don't think anybody is shocked to see this placed here. At number 10, we have the break time stage, Tumble House. Here you make your way in an anti-clockwise fashion around said titular tumble house, which shifts constantly and forces you to keep up with platforming. This has the potential to be a decent stage gimmick in a proper course. Instead here, it's a bit of a gimme. You have no real control over when the house tumbles, collecting flower coins to get the Wonder Seed and move on. Still, it has more gameplay than most break time stages, so I've got to give them that. But it's okay, because from this point on we're hitting banger after banger for World 5. At number 9, we have the Soul Badge Challenge found in World 5, Grappling Vine 1. And what an interesting little badge we have here. The grappling vine allows you to pull yourself horizontally towards a wall of your choice, as long as the vine attaches. It's a little cumbersome to use initially, but there are uses definitely baked into it. The stage itself is well set up to teach you the ropes, and I have a soft fondness for the vertical platforming stages, especially with new gimmicks. I hope to see a Grappling Vine 2 in the future to test the badge out a little bit more in a more carefully curated challenge. But what surprised me most of all is that you can grapple to the top of the flagpole. If there's ever a level where you're struggling to reach the tip, this badge is basically there to give you that easy victory. Great stuff. At number 8, we have Beware of the Rifts, one of the early levels you can find in the Upper Swamp. For whatever reason, the concept of these rifts in space and time just didn't appeal to me in the way I was expecting. I love the idea, a rift into an unknowable space, very eldritch in its appearance, and reminiscent of the dark matter from the Galaxy games. Here though, it's just a terrifying little platforming gimmick, and that's about it. I really like the flower coin you use a POW block to reach, with the flower who's absolutely terrified and asks you to stay, but eventually you must go. The actual level design here is pretty great, with a focus on collecting flower bulbs to activate platforms, reveal pipes, and collect flower coins, all ending in a Wonder Flower sequence where you're chased by Shadow Mario around a large square arena, collecting flower coins and using gigantic power blocks to stun him. Once again, very Celeste in both execution and ambiance. In fact, the whole Rift idea reminds me very heavily of the hotel level in Celeste, and that's not a bad thing. But while I'll remember the rifts for their memorable appearance, I don't think I'll remember the finer details of this level in the same way as our future entries, but that's just me. At number 7, we have another uncharted area, Swaying Ruins. The second of the 3 ruin courses, the Swaying Ruins features these baby-looking thwomps that sway from side to side. They look adorable, and I only want the best for them. If anybody knows their canonical name, please let me know down below. The platforming is super fun, having to take advantage of the swaying from left to right to gain height and momentum to make certain jumps. And we have the return of the mummy enemies from World 4 that are just as satisfying to unravel as before. The flower coins in this zone are pretty simple to collect, being on the main path for you, so you can focus purely on the platforming. I especially like the room where you have to activate the swaying platforms yourself. It adds an extra layer to the platforming puzzles presented, and is also part of how you access this world's Wonder Flower, as you need to ride this baby thwomp off of one swaying ruin and onto another so you can access this door. Great stuff. The Wonder Flower effect of the course is also pretty enjoyable, albeit over a little too quickly for my tastes. The walls become slippery and bouncy, and you have to platform your way to the Wonder Seed to end it, which leaves you near the flagpole as well. My issue here is that this is one of the few Wonder effects where I'd say it's pretty easy to fail the platforming and die, and the checkpoint for this level is several rooms back, forcing you to platform through multiple segments to even attempt the Wonder Flower again. It reminds me of a Dark Souls boss run back, and by my third attempt, I was a bit soured on having to repeat the same 2 rooms over again to make it back and try again. That's just me, none of the other levels in the game gave me those vibes, we move on. Viewer, you found me, I'm yours. And now that I've got your attention with a niche reference, I'm trying to reach 20,000 subscribers by summer of 2024, and you, yes you, can help. Look at how many of you aren't subscribed to the channel, so be sure to parry that subscribe button to stay up to date on all my latest rankings. Back to the video. At number 6, we have Up Shroom, Down Shroom, the first course I tried in World 5, and a great introduction to the quality content on offer. The level gimmick are the mushrooms found throughout, which can lower or raise after being activated, and you of course have to use them to platform to progress to the goal. Alongside this, the level is built to accommodate the drill power-up, and using it to smash pumpkins, drill through ceilings to reach collectibles, and just seeing it work in a level that isn't based in a cavern is really satisfying to see. Those ninja bamboo-looking enemies from World 3 make a return here, and I still have no idea what they're called, but I now know they can be killed in one hit with the drill power-up, and it makes a very satisfying sound. Otherwise, if you stomp on them normally, they just go unconscious and you have to stomp on them again to finish them, double tap rules. We also have a few fire piranha plants in this level, but they don't really offer much in the way of danger. It's the Wonder Flower effect that truly raises this level to new heights though. For context, one of my favourite holidays is Halloween, something both I and my boyfriend share. So when the pumpkin party begins and we enter the spooky disco rave with bouncing jack-o'-lanterns, flowers cheering on the music, and some nice rhythm-based platforming, I was more than satisfied. It's always a treat to see enemies dancing around to the music and never gets old. I only wish that segment went on for a little bit longer. At number 5, we have the AuthorAdena Fungi Funk. And finally, the developers have listened to reason, because there are no hammer bros on any of the floors. We won, gamers! Instead, we're treated to a 4-floor enemy gauntlet featuring only enemies from World 5, which is exactly what the KO arenas should be. From the boos in the first room, where you have to move the lights around the room to catch the stray ghosts off guard, to the tailies you can grapple off of as you pull them to their demise, to the mimic doors that are some of the most inspired enemies in the game so far, and lastly the wubbers, where unless you have a fire flower, you're gonna struggle to kill them in that 90-second time limit needed to collect all 3 flower coins. I love enemy gauntlets when done well, and Fungi Funk hits the right notes by focusing entirely on these newly introduced enemies to create a more memorable experience. No more Hammer Bros ever! That's a reference only the gays will get. At number 4, we have Taili's Toxic Pond. And let me tell you, these last 4 levels were really hard to rank. I think they're all fantastic. Taili's Toxic Pond introduces you to the titular Taili enemies. They hang from the ceilings, and when you get close, drop spiked rocks down to crush you. To defeat them, you can either use your drill power-up to knock them off the ceiling, or you can grab their tails and yank them down, which has a secondary effect, as shown in multiple parts of the level, as when you yank their tails, you get a small jump boost afterwards, allowing you to effectively grapple onto another taili and continue the process. It's like a chain reaction, and as long as you avoid their projectiles, you're unstoppable. Shout out to the second flower coin, where after we defeat the 2 tailies, the talking flower laments that he's left all alone. Further in the level, I love the usage of the yellow spinning blocks combined with the tailies' projectiles to create some tricky platforming. For the third flower coin, you actually need a taili to attack the yellow spinning block blocking this pipe, and that just felt really smart to me. But I'll remember this level most of all for the sheer fear of the wonder effect. Something crazy with taili grapples? No. A horrifying chase sequence? No. The most terrifying effect of all time? A pop quiz. Ah! I froze up in sheer panic when it asked how many badges I had collected. Luckily, the second 2 questions were a bit easier, but suffice it to say, I'm now scared of more surprise quizzes in the future, and I won't soon forget that one, let me tell you. But it's also the reason why this course misses out on my top 3, because the wonder effect wasn't really platforming based, it was just a quiz, and I kinda wanted to see what they could do with the tailies in a more crazy setting. Taking the bronze medal, we have Light Switch Mansion, the first appearance of the boos in Super Mario Wonder, and they're looking better than ever. In this level, you traverse the mansion while hitting light switch blocks to turn on the lights, as the boos will vanish if exposed to bright light, but the switches only stay on for a short amount of time. Beyond that, there are many invisible platforms you need to use to progress that only reveal themselves, you guessed it, in light. So you have to manage making sure the boos don't sneak up on you while doing tricky platforming and keeping the light switches on. It's a lot to keep track of, but the platforming is very self-contained and it's always clear on what the game wants from you. My favourite moment though is easily the introduction of the new door mimics. I was expecting some fake doors, but not ones that attack you while making horrifying noises. More than that though, I love that to defeat them, you have to stun them and then use them like a regular door, which gets you into the background at one point for a flower coin. This level ends prematurely if you take the door leading to the initial flagpole, but if you carry on, you'll find this level's wonder effect, Boos at the Opera. This is on par with Piranha Plant's On Parade for best musical moment in the game so far, purely because while the auto-scroll platforming is fun and fine, it's the dynamic music that really sells this sequence. You see, if you're facing away from King Boo as he chases you, his operatic singing is beautiful. But the moment you turn to look at him, he gets shy, clams up, and the singing gets distorted and awkward, really reflecting the autistic experience of singing at karaoke. I can relate, oh boy. Hopping over chandeliers while purposefully trying to ruin King Boo's opera solo was addictive, and a perfect way to end the level. I just wish they'd gone with his King Boo appearance from Luigi's Mansion because it's a bit more of a distinctive look, but hey, that's not any fault of the level. And our silver medal goes to a final Uncharted area, Poison Ruins. What a great final level for Fungi Mines, with tons of cinematic moments and a level that once again has a classic course clear ? Moment. From the beginning, you enter the temple and begin activating these moving pillars via the flower bulbs, until you're suddenly dropped down into a trap that leaves you in a poison pool. And it's here we get a classic 2D Mario platformer setup as the poison is beginning to rise and you have to make your way up before you're overtaken. What I love is that this area has some tricky timing-based platforming while also incorporating my babies, the Outmaways from World 2. I had to laugh when I tried Koopa shelling one and it just kicked the shell back at me. So badass, so cool. The platforming is really dynamic and I never felt like I was safe as I climbed upwards. I've always had a soft spot for this trope because these levels can be really satisfying to speedrun since the variables have to remain the same due to the rising poison. Where the level then truly peaks though is after you escape, collecting a Wonder Flower, and becoming a Wubber. This is the second time we see this power up in Fungi Mines, and I'm just gonna say it is my favorite wonder effect in the game. It never fails to put a smile on my face. It feels like I'm going into secret, uncharted territory here though, with some really tricky navigation that puts the power up on full blast. It scratches my itch for using the power up to its fullest potential, and every room felt great to platform through, all leading to a final arena where we destroy a literal sun to obtain the Wonder Seed and ultimately escape to the flagpole. I almost wish the sun sequence was an enemy or boss of some kind just to give things some more dynamism. This world doesn't have a proper boss, but the setup was right there, and I'm just gutted they missed out on an obvious finish. But I think based on how much I love the Wubber power, you know where I'm going for my number one. The best course in Fungi Mines is an uncharted area, Wubber Ruins. Immediately when you start the level, you're introduced to the Wubbers, goo enemies that are pretty easy to kill, and their habitat, the green goop. You can swim through the goop like you would water, and the way you have to use it to platform around is really fun. Then you combine the goop with those large platform enemies that drop from the ceilings, and see that they can clear the goop briefly, things getting a little more interesting. It's a balancing act of collecting the flower coins while avoiding both the Wubbers and those falling block enemies, and I'm reminded oddly of Acid Man's stage from Mega Man 11. It's a bit easy, but once you reach the Wonder Flower, you realize that this was just training you, because oh my god, this is my favorite wonder effect in the game. You collect the flower and you become a giant Wubber, a ball of gel who sticks to walls and can jump to reach new platforms. It's such a unique form of movement and feels so intuitive in a 2D space that it makes the entire level design from floor to ceiling feel wholly unique. It's also playing that banger music introduced in World 3 with the Hoppy Cats, and the entire second half of the level is dedicated to this new form and progressing. Why anybody would ignore this Wonder Flower and do the level normally is beyond me. There's just something so satisfying about how you move in the gel and how you avoid enemies and interact with the environment. It put a smile on my face. But the cherry on top in this level is the running gag with the flowers. Every time you meet them, they keep asking how the goo tastes, and one of them even says, "Can't get enough of that green stuff," take that one out of context. However, it's the final flower as you're about to reach the Wonder Seed that just took me so off guard. Because it licks you, and it thinks you're tasty. And how the fuck am I supposed to respond to that? If you then check him out after you turn back, he thanks you for the appetizer, and I'm just... this is the stupidest humor I absolutely love. I'm gonna be thinking about that one flower for the rest of my life. And that's my list. Which World 5 course spoke to you the most? Let me know down below, and be sure to parry that subscribe button to stay up to date on my future content, including my World 6 ranking coming out on Sunday, with my Petal Isles ranking and the special World ranking next week. My socials are on screen now, feel free to follow where you feel comfortable. I recommend my Twitter, or my Blue Sky, or my Discord if you're interested. And a massive shout out to my patrons over on Patreon for supporting me for another month. You guys are genuinely amazing, and you mean the world to me for supporting this channel. So, thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys next time. Adios.